there's not much that can be done. High school teachers at the English Public School Board say they don't know what they'll be teaching on Monday. The union says the smart move is to delay the start of the year. Well, the wind certainly making an appearance in Windsor, Essex today. The sun as well, a welcome visit after the week that was. Colette Kennedy joins us with the full forecast later tonight. I'm Chris Hensing. Thanks for watching. Issues continue to surround the face mask policy here in Windsor, Essex. They're required to be worn in stores and other public places, but some people are giving some pushback. Dale Molnar is live now. Dale, what have bylaw officers been dealing with?
Well, Chris, condo association officials at the Harborview condominiums on Boblo Island are frustrated with the enforcement of the town's face mask bylaw. Over the weekend, they confronted a teen for not wearing his face mask in the lobby of the condo, something that's required under the bylaw. But when they called the bylaw enforcement officer to deal with this, they got a big surprise.
And then when I talked to him, he said, well, here's what'll happen. We'll have to call him and we'll ask him if he was wearing a mask. If he says he was, then there's nothing we can do.
Peter Dunn is concerned about the safety of the residents at the condo, including himself. He has cancer. 3 others in the building do too. So they have compromised immune systems. And he says 2 people in the building have already died of COVID-19.
A lot of people don't want to wear a mask. I understand that. But when you see people die and you firsthand, this isn't a game anymore. And it's sad.
Dunn says the officer also refused to look at a video of the incident. He questions why the bylaw is in place if it can't be enforced. People are exempt from it if they have a medical condition that prevents them from wearing it, but they don't have to prove it. Something Dunn doesn't agree with.
Well, all the person has to say is, I have health issues and I can't wear a mask. They don't have to have proof, he told me. So guess what? What you're telling everybody in Windsor tomorrow is don't wear a mask and just tell them you don't feel comfortable. That's wrong.
The medical officer of health says it's hard to ask people to provide proof because it might present challenges for them and it could cause a stigma to become attached.
So I think we all need to respect people, and we need to understand that there are people who genuinely cannot wear masks, but don't use that as an opportunity to circumvent the process. It is the process and the system is there for everyone's benefit.
Amherstburg Councillor Michael Prue, who lives on the island, will bring the issue up to council on Monday. Now, this afternoon, I spoke with the manager of licensing and enforcement for the town of Amherstburg. Nicole Rubley tells me this is the first complaint that they've had to deal with since the face mask bylaw came into effect 2 weeks ago. She says, however, the bylaw enforcement officer did deal with the teen. He did go to talk to him, and the teen gave him assurances that he would be wearing his mask in the future. Rubley says they can't ask for a medical note because that would leave them open to a Charter of Rights challenge. Now, she also says, though, if people don't comply, even after being told, there is recourse. She stands behind the bylaw enforcement 100%. She says people can be fined $300 if they don't comply. Chris?
Interesting about the mask there. When it comes to getting out of the face mask law due to medical conditions, Amherstburg officials say that they can ask for proof, but there's a company that's going to do just that. Is that right, Dale?
Correct. Owen Sound Transportation just today enforced is bringing in a policy where you have to have a medical note in order to get out of wearing a face mask for medical reasons. Now, I spoke to a civil liberties lawyer earlier today about this. She says this could be an infringement of a person's human rights. However, that has to be tested by a human rights tribunal. Now, the ferry company says they've been getting a lot of people not wanting to wear masks, so they're now requiring people to have that doctor's note explaining that they can't wear a mask due to medical conditions. The difference here is they just got permission this week from Transport Canada to request the note this week. And the CEO of the company says they are not violating anyone's rights because people aren't required to reveal what their medical condition is. Now, the note has to have a few things on it. It has to have a statement that reads the person is exempt due to a medical condition. It has to have the person's name and date of birth, and it has to identify the healthcare provider, which would include his or her license and also contact information. Now, there are some people who don't need a note and are going to be exempt anyway. Children under the 2 years of age don't have to wear a mask, and people who can't put it on or take it off by themselves and they're traveling alone and they don't have a person helping them, they don't have to wear a mask either, and they don't need a note. Masks are available for purchase, though, on the ferry. Chris?
Thanks, Dale. The CBC's Dale Molnar live tonight. High school students return to school on Monday, but the Union for the Public English Board in Windsor, Essex says that the system might not be ready. They want the start of class to be delayed.
To not know what is problematic.
The Ontario Secondary School Teachers Federation says grade 9 orientation was both stressful and smooth this week, but late Friday afternoon, cracks in the staggered start for high school students, they say. Teachers aren't sure what subject they'll be teaching on day one.
Many teachers not knowing what courses they're starting on Monday. And so I just, I got to a breaking point where it's like, how are we starting on Monday when they don't know? Our new model calls for period 1 for nearly 4 hours in a day. Not knowing what you're teaching, it's going to be a long 4 hours if you find out now, Sunday. I don't have that timeline. There are no virtual school teachers, which is our largest high school now with 3,000 students in it. Our largest high school, no one knows what they're teaching on Monday.
We asked the Greater Essex County District School Board for an interview. A spokesperson said they're going to, quote, continue to follow the staggered start schedule for all students as it has been constructed. Here's what that staggered start looks like. For the virtual school on Monday, one group of students starts online learning. The remaining students, they're going to start on Tuesday, and everyone online learning taking classes daily starting Wednesday. And now if you're doing in-school learning, on Monday, grade 9 and 10 students in cohort A head to class. Grade 11 and 12 are online. Then Tuesday, students in grade 9 and 10 in cohort B head to class online for grades 11 and 12. Wednesday, all grades go back by cohort. Roy went public for the first time calling for this delayed start, and she brought it to the board's director of education today.
I'm not sure that she was aware that there were so many people that didn't have their schedules yet, but we'll see what happens.
And we'll be following any developments in that story. You can look for updates on our website, cbc.ca/Windsor. Ontario reported 213 new cases of COVID-19 today. The last time the province reported more than 200 cases, July 21st, when there were 203.
This is happening. We got to work together. All I've been asking is please try to avoid these big gatherings. Please try to avoid, the weddings that I heard were 150, 170 people. Just follow the guidelines and everyone will be okay.
Here in Windsor, Essex, 3 new cases confirmed today, one from close contact with someone with COVID-19. A third of the cases in Ontario in Toronto, which reported 71. The Peel region had 38 new cases. Now, as new COVID-19 cases go up, the province is also ramping up testing. And with flu season approaching, there's plans to start checking people for both viruses at the same time. Lorenda Redikoff has the details.
Lots of people headed out for a COVID-19 test today on a day when Ontario's new cases spiked higher than they have in months.
I'm experiencing some shortness of breath, which is almost one of those self-enforcing things that makes you pretty friggin' nervous. So, just gonna see if I can rule this out.
So we'll just see how long it waits from here. I can finally see the entrance, so that's nice.
I spoke to one young woman who didn't want to go on camera. She told me she was in this line yesterday for 3.5 hours. And then when she was almost at the end, they closed. So she's back again today for her test. It was a shorter wait at another testing center in the city. Today, Toronto had the highest number of new cases with 71, followed by Ottawa and Peel region.
So anywhere where there's large urban areas, congregate living especially, that's where we have teams going in there, our health teams going in there to support these communities.
Across Ontario, labs processed more than 32,000 tests today. Many of them done here at the largest lab in the province at Mount Sinai Hospital. Soon, they're expecting to process 10,000 a day. And next week, they'll hit 500,000 tests completed. As flu season approaches, they're looking to add a test that will check for both viruses together.
So that you don't have to have 2 swabs taken or have 2 different sampling techniques performed on you. We're not there yet, but everybody is actively working on that so that we are ready when the flu surge happens.
With more testing, the hope is that officials will have a more accurate picture of how much COVID is actually in the community, unlike in spring.
you can put interventions in before these small fires become big ones. So the last thing anybody wants is to go back into that massive lockdown that we had back in March. But this allows us to act early, act in focused areas.
This doctor says that could mean certain areas returning to stage 2 or increased messaging directed at young people to avoid large gatherings. Brenda Redicott, CBC News, Toronto.
10 red light cameras that are part of a program that Windsor passed in May are expected to cost more than $500,000. Officials say the plan will help regulate drivers' speed within Windsor, Essex. According to a city report, the cameras are estimated to cost $520,000, though they are projected to bring in $900,000 in revenue from fines and enforcement. Details go before council on Monday. Canada's household debt-to-income ratio dipped in the second quarter of this year. Statistics Canada says that Canadian households owe $1.58 for every dollar of disposable income that they have. That's down from $1.75 in the first quarter. But as CBC's Peter Armstrong explains, the decline is seen as temporary because of the COVID-19 pandemic.
On the surface, this seems like pretty good news. A record-setting drop in debt-to-income levels, the lowest level we've seen since 2010. But, and it's a pretty big but, much of this merely pushes our problems with debt a little bit further down the road. Debt levels dropped, at least in part, because like 760,000 Canadians deferred their mortgage payments. 8.7 million Canadians took part in the Canadian Emergency Response Benefit. So many of them didn't have to go further into debt. And both of those showed that the system worked. It helped people get through the immediacy of the crisis, but the clock is now ticking on both of those measures. If you took out, say, a 6-month deferral in your mortgage back in March, that expires this month, and we know the CERB is already winding down too. We also know that the people on the periphery of the economy are always the hardest hit in a crisis. Women, minorities, new Canadians, richer Canadians were generally better able to navigate this crisis. But 66% of Canadians make less than $47,000 a year, and they're the ones most at risk as this recovery drags on. Right now, consumer insolvencies in Canada are at an all-time low, but they're building up, and the stress on those households is growing by the day. So experts say a tsunami of insolvencies is inevitable later this fall and into the winter. Peter Armstrong, CBC News, Toronto.
Bells tolled and trumpets paid a mournful tribute to the nearly 3,000 killed on this day 19 years ago in Pennsylvania, the Pentagon, and New York.
Stuart Soo Jin Lee.
Mark Gavin Ludvigsen.
Alexander Milan Filipov.
The names of 3 out of at least 24 Canadians who lost their lives in the 9/11 attacks. Regina-born Alexander Filipov was aboard the first plane to crash into the World Trade Center towers. Garnett Ace Bailey, also of Saskatchewan, was in the second doomed aircraft. The pandemic changed this year's ceremony with a recording of the names played to a smaller gathering in New York. Now, nearby, a group of loved ones held their own memorial, but everywhere, messages of love and loss and thanks for cherished memories. Now, the day after 9/11 here in Windsor saw long lineups to the Michigan border. Here's a story from September 12th, 2001, about students from St. Clair College helping out stranded drivers waiting for customs. Brett Morrison reports.
Huron Church is a parking lot. Extra security checks by U.S. Customs mean it can take 8 hours to reach the bridge from Highway number 3 and Howard Avenue. At 3 p.m., this trucker was parked in front of St. Clair College. How long have you been here?
Since 6:30 this morning.
How far have you gone?
Probably a quarter of a mile.
Beside the line of trucks, St. Clair College students were loading potato salad, cold drinks, and water onto a golf cart.
We're giving free food to all the truckers who are stuck in the traffic because of the high security at the bridge, because of everything that's happened over in the States and how tragic it is. And So St. Clair College is donating a whole bunch of food and cold pop.
We decided to bring some porta-johns out, which was obviously the most important need for these truckers. Some of them have been sitting here for 4 or 5 hours. And we got our students involved and the people who run our cafeteria. And they've been out giving away drinks and chips and sandwiches to the truckers.
For drivers with little to do but wait, the food and drinks are welcome. Coffee and donuts were available from a truck at the college gates.
Oh, it's excellent as far as that goes. It's nice to see some appreciation to us truck drivers for once anyway, you know, and the waiting and stuff. So very much appreciated from all these guys.
Oh, it's been perfect. Everybody was crying that they had no food. They were all running out of water, so they brought the stuff out to them and no charge at all. Just give them a donation to their fund if you wanted to.
A good reminder of the kindness that Windsor Essex has in its heart. It's a different look this year for Pride Fest. This afternoon, Windsor Essex annual Pride Festival kicked off with the raising of the Pride flag. The symbolic ceremony brings to light why our annual Pride Festival is so important to the LGBTQ community. But this year, those looking to attend events, they're going to have to do it online.
We held out the hope that we could have the physical Pride Fest. We realized we weren't going to be able to do it. So virtual it is. Everyone can come together and hopefully have a great time.
Pride Fest is completely virtual this year due to COVID-19, and all of the scheduled events, those can be found online at wepridefest.com. In many schools, the start of the day sees students stand up to sing the national anthem, but the pandemic means singing's not encouraged, so a Windsor teacher is getting creative.
Right after the principal played O Canada, that I would play them a YouTube version of O Canada, and I had them watch it, and then we practiced signing it a few times, and the video that you saw, I think they had done it maybe 3 times.
She's referring to this video posted to her Twitter account. It has more than 2,600 likes and has been viewed more than 43,000 times, and you can see why. She taught her students to sing O Canada using sign language. Allison says that she's gonna have her students keep practicing until they can start to work on other songs that they can sign. A look outside here at the Ambassador Bridge. The sun did shine today, something that we were hoping for, something that Colette promised, and something we'll be asking her about when she does the full forecast coming up after the break. It is do or die time for the Toronto Raptors. They're taking on the Boston Celtics tonight, Game 7, the NBA semifinals. And Raptors fans, we're feeling optimistic.
We still have the fire, so I think we can do it. We can go far. So it feels really good.
Now, the Raptors are coming off of a dramatic double overtime victory in Game 6 on Wednesday, led by veteran Kyle Lowry, scoring a remarkable 33 points. The winner of tonight's game, they're going to take on the Miami Heat in the Eastern Conference Final. The loser done for the season. We bring in sports reporter and brilliant forecaster Colette Kennedy. I feel like you got a horse in this race, don't you?
I don't know what gives you that impression, but yes, I love that he's talking about fire. I'm very excited about tonight. So
very much.
Yes.
A quick temperature check. Are you feeling hot for Game 7? You think we got it?
I'm very excited. Yes, I do. Of course, I believe. Yes,
Perfect.
Don't you?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, good. And to go from fire to winter, I hate to do that, to put a damper in terms on the temperatures that we're talking about, but I do want to talk just for a moment about winter, because the National Climate Prediction Center has actually put out a La Nina advisory. So a 75%, and that's a pretty decent chance of this being a La Nina season, winter season that we're coming upon. And so I did want to kind of take a look and just give you an idea. Now, it can be a little unpredictable, but what we might see in a winter season typically if we have a La Nina year. Now, for the West Coast, it tends to be a little bit stormier there. And what it means for the prairies is it tends to be a colder winter season. But let's get to what we really want to know about, right, is what we tend to see into southern and eastern Ontario. I know it's really a little further to the south of us that it's more predictable that it tends to be warmer, but we often capture that too, where our temperatures are a little warmer. We have a slightly warmer winter season than usual, but also it can be, because it's warmer, it can also be a little bit wetter for us too, and that might not necessarily come then as snow, but as some rainfall in terms of the precipitation, because the temperatures are up a little bit, so it makes sense. So we'll be watching that carefully for you. I want to talk about, let's bring it in a little closer, right, to what's happening just for this weekend. Saturday early, we're looking at sunshine. Then we do have a system that's going to be moving in, so clouds will be increasing. We'll have about a 30% chance of showers into the afternoon, but that really increases as we get into the evening and overnight hours, not just showers, but thunderstorms, and into early Sunday too. Then it should clear out. Cold front will go through and bring the temperatures down a little bit, but otherwise we are talking about mild temperatures and some humidity too into this weekend. Our temperatures right now running below seasonal for us. High teens, yes, clear conditions at the moment. The precipitation well back to the west of us, and that's why we have clear conditions to start the day on Saturday, but then clouds start to roll in, and then again, it's likely going to hold till the evening so that we get a decent day out, and then some heavier stuff, heavier downpours, but also we do have the risk of some severe weather overnight Saturday with some of these storms with that cold front going through into Sunday morning. So we could not only have some heavy downpours, but some strong wind gusts, 80 to 90 kilometers an hour before that pushes through. Tonight, quieter and calmer conditions, and the temperatures looking like this, getting more humid and hotter though into tomorrow. And I'm out of time, so I just want to give you a quick look at some of those milder readings that I'm talking about into the weekend that we have to look at, and then it does cool down a little bit the beginning of next week.
We're looking fantastic with the sun. Thanks for this, Colette.
Yeah, you're welcome, Chris.
A giant Canadian diamond heading to auction soon in Hong Kong. We'll show you that up next. Relentless wildfires continue to scorch huge tracts of woodlands along the U.S. West Coast. So far, the fires are being blamed for at least 16 deaths in 3 states. Now, in California, the fires have burned more than 1.5 million hectares of brush and forest. More than 2,000 homes and other buildings have been destroyed. But Oregon is where it appears to be bearing the brunt of the fires. There are about 3 dozen burning in the state. Several towns have just been devastated. 500,000 people under evacuation orders. More than 360,000 hectares have been burnt. In nearby Washington state, hundreds of households have been displaced. More than 240,000 hectares have been burnt. Well, if you need a gift for someone special in your life, we've got a suggestion for you if you've got some very deep pockets. This here is a huge oval diamond that's heading to auction soon in Hong Kong. 102 carats in size, absolutely flawless. Only 7 other flawless white diamonds over 100 carats have ever gone up for auction. But for the first time, there's no reserve on this diamond. That means that bidding can start at just 1 Hong Kong dollar or 17 cents Canadian, something that we might be able to afford. But you're not going to want to get your hopes up here. It's expected to sell for as much as $40 million. Now, the diamond was discovered at the Victor mine in Northern Ontario in 2018, was then cut and polished more than a year. Online bidding starts next week. Auction day is October the 5th. And it certainly sparkles bright. It is 6:29 p.m. That's it for us here at CBC Windsor News. Don't forget, for news anytime, you can go to our website, cbc.ca/Windsor. We're on social media too. Check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. If you have thoughts on what the first day of school looks like on Monday, give us a shout too. You can always find us on those platforms. Just search for CBC Windsor. Tag us in your photos, your posts, your pictures. Let us know how it feels to be back in class. Power and Politics, that's up next. We're going to join that already in progress. Thanks for watching. Make sure that you and your family have yourselves a great weekend.